Okay. That's David Wortman and Rick Bundren both around in the bus stop. Here they are going in, entering. David comes up the inside. Might have made contact. Rick might not have been expecting him to try to get that done. Here's a look from the nose cam. There it is. Rick must have thought that David was going to back it out. David was committed. They'll continue on, but that's about a loss of about 4 positions for each of them in class. Here's Nick Aslin right now leading the AM field. He's running and battling with the top 10. Ron Kabilti's up there as well. He's now following Travis Rowe, who slots into 10th. Look at this pack of cars. This is the battle around the 10th position. Any misstep and a number of cars will be involved in an incident. Great racing there. Let's jump on board with newcomer Landon Roy and see what it looks like to follow Shea McNeely. Careful getting back on power. Just a little test of the throttle to see if he has the traction. The tires should be coming up to temp now. Being very patient with the Porsche. Allowing it to rotate before getting on power. He looks content to follow Shea until there's a reason to either push or take advantage of a mistake. Last week we saw pit strategy and traffic come into play, allowing Jason Wahlberg to pit 1 lap earlier than Shea McNeely. Shea, coming out in a field of traffic, wasn't able to catch up to Jason Wahlberg, who was going into turn 1 as he exited. Jason Wahlberg never looked back from there. And see how aggressive the curbs are in this back view. Michael Odell right there with these two. A little bit of a gap to last week's winner, Jason Wahlberg. Francis Faustino is back in the Pro Division after an administrative issue by league management. Justin, who got a little too much sausage and was unable to do the right thing. No, just a little mistake. But Francis did not take the win last week. Has already been a pro and was moved back to the pro class. So sorry if my mic disappeared. I have no idea when or where or what you did or didn't hear, but I'm sure it was a relief to not hear me. See this train continuing. Nick Aslin and Ron Kabiltes have been battling. Oh no, bad luck for David Stark. Looked like Justin Flagg as well is backwards now. Don't believe either vehicle got into the wall. David Stark getting wide on the exit of the bus stop, getting into the inside wall of the turn. So see here in slower mo, see a lot of curb on the entry. A little bit of bouncing on the exit. May have just lost that bit of grip and weight over the front end. Getting out wide. And that's just going to snap back to the inside, leaving room for Justin Flagg to have nowhere to go. Justin was maybe about a second or two back at the time. Nowhere to go there. He just gets barely clipped on the rear quarter. Probably thought he made it through. Again, hopefully no damage done, but now he has dropped 10 positions overall. So Watkins Glen taking some bites out of these drivers. Incredible scene so far. David Stark and Justin Flagg both, I believe, are now coming into the pits, so the damage must have been enough to use a fast repair. I do think that you can fuel pretty heavy in this setup, so we saw CJ Barzak almost make a run from stopping lap 2 after getting in an incident and running all the way to the end. Had about 5 minutes short on fuel at Road America. Ooh, little checkup there. Jesse Coffey, for some reason, was dropping. He must have damage if he's dropping and pitting in like that. But nobody expected him to be on the inside there preparing for pit entry. Got brother Tim in the chat. Michael is running third and has been since early in lap 1 when Brian Coxon hit the wall going up through the S's and dropped from second position. On the recovery, Brian all the way back up to 13th from 33rd. Now chasing Ian Bakaitis. Tim, if you're saying that you're Michael's dad, I know, brother. Landon's getting closer and closer to being able to try to make a move on Shea McNeely. Tucked up into the bus stop, going to go out wide. Looks like trying to swing it to open up on the exit. Looked like Shea got made up a little bit of time going through the bus stop itself. And the slingshot on the exit didn't quite pan out for Landon, but you appreciate the thinking, a little bit of research for later laps. Jason Wahlberg running fourth, and Francis Faustino for the time being is in fifth. Christopher Rowe is right there. Francis has been putting in time with the P Cup, feels comfortable with it. Still, a pack continues around the 10th position overall. You're looking at second and third in the AM division here. Ron Kabilti's the Golf livery coming to your living room or your couch or your toilet, wherever you might be, is first in the AM division. Good to see Ron return to strong performances. We've seen Ron have a lot of pace. Just unfortunate issues that have kept him from closing the deal. But there's always tonight. Here comes Francis into the bus stop, closely followed by Christopher Rowe. Around the carousel, down the hill. Oh no, Kyle Ryan now is around. It looks like in the carousel as well, coming out of the bus stop. The bus stop exit has been catching people out. A lot of curb going in, suspension kind of bouncing around on the way out. Maybe just a little, oh, nope. Got out wide. Sorry, the camera was on Brian Coxon there. Sorry, normally the camera will snap to the driver, but Brian's car was able to handle that better than it handled going off of the infamous blue walls here. So just looked like, oh, complete air for Kyle. So the car doesn't have any traction if the wheels aren't on the surface, the racing surface. Huge sky. Things looked good there. Came in maybe a little bit early, and that just launched that car. And it never settled back down. I think that's a common finding at Watkins Glen, that when you come to sections like the bus stop, where you think that you're going to be able to make up a lot of time, make some position up, gather somebody in to make a move, you have to measure that risk with the flow and comfort of making it through safely. If you get a little too aggressive. You can eat some curbs, eat a little too much sausage, end up backwards in a wall, and then back in pit lane for repairs. So it looks like Kyle is in pit lane now for repairs. So hopefully his pit crew will get him grounded for the rest of this race. There are 40 minutes left, so it is quite plausible that he might be able to then finish from this position. So this may not be a huge loss. This may not push him to 2 stops, but we'll have to see. This race has continued. Landon Loy with the current fastest lap of the race at a 1:46.15. Shea McNeely 1:46.4, punching a hole in the air for Landon to lay that time down. Currently, Landon is about 0.2 faster in Sector 1. Shea about 2.5 quicker than Landon in Sector 3, about the same in Sector 4. Nick Moffitt trying to work for 10th position. Jason Geyer. This is Amon Pro. Nick just showing, not going. One of the things the single class really provides nicely is that the drivers are in the same equipment. So if the AM drivers can trade some racecraft and have some battles with the pro drivers, maybe a little bit more trust and experience than the rest of the AM field. So maybe you can pick up some ways to handle certain sectors or to block and hold off and set up the car. So this has in the past proved to be a great tool for the drivers who are only just getting serious about putting time in to improve their craft. Jason Geyer not long ago was winning races in the GT4 AM division. David Wortman putting in work on the way back after the incident going into the bus stop with Rick Bundren. David's back up in third, so he is putting down some heat. A few of the pro cars have taken their stop. CJ Barzak, one of them. CJ stopped on lap 12, so this is his out lap. After seeing how the fuel load worked last week, he's trying his super undercut. Chet Miller now coming in. There's Christopher Hopper. cars that to me appear to have taken a pit stop not for damage. Nick Aslin and CJ Barzak. Looks like maybe Ian Bakaitis and Chet Miller as well. A few other cars did stop around 10 or 11, but Kyle Ryan may have had damage to repair and taken that opportunity. Not sure if Taylor Montague had a choice on his stop or not, but either way, I think they should be able to go. Just a little wide there for somebody. Here's race director Josh Watt making sure everybody's safe. Everybody say hi, Josh, and sorry that nobody can follow directions or listen to rules. It's not a thing we're used to here in America. He's coming in for his stop. Nick Moffitt still chasing down Jason Geyer. Neither of these drivers were conservative in their choice of paint colors. If your Porsche Cup car is not loud, then why are you here? Oh no, another wreck potentially for Justin Flagg. He's immediately into the pits. That's no good. See if we can find what happened here to Justin Flagg. Just went around. I don't know if there was any damage. Maybe just taking the toe to avoid wrecking somebody else. I'll have to take a look here and see what the track surface temp is. The track temp is 94, so not the absolute hottest surface temps, but people certainly have lost control a few times. I'll never forgive whoever let the Hungaroring be at 120 degrees X number of seasons ago when I was one incident point from being disqualified. It was a nightmare, not fun at all. Here's our newest wart. Landon Loy has made his way around. We'll find the overtake here. That was about 29 minutes, almost 30 minutes of setup to get to that. Now Nick Moffitt going up the inside of Jason Geyer, coming back into the complex. Bear with me here while I scroll the events log to try to find this replay for us. Well, looks like it happened in the carousel through the bus stop. Sorry, for some reason it's struggling to handle events that transpired a couple minutes ago, but Landon made his way around clean. Shea is still running perfectly fine. Now is locked in, trying to figure out how to get back around. He might ride for a bit. Neither of these cars have stopped. Cars overall 1 through 13 are yet to pit. That includes first, second, third, and fourth in the AM division, and Michael Harris in fifth, who is yet to pit, as well as the leaders of the Pro division. As they make their way back up, the S's, I believe that was Chris Hopper exiting the pit lane. Nice run for Landon getting up the hill in tight there on the entry. Can't get too tight to that wall on the entry to the bus stop there. We saw that cost Shane Van Gisbergen in the NASCAR Cup Series. There's a lot of room up into the inside until there's not. That was, I believe, that might have been Rick. No, Rick is fine. So that may have been the car of the inverse Rick, Justin Shoup. Who was backwards there. Running just fine now. Kyle Ryan trying to make his way back up. We'll hope that pit stops add time to everyone else. Shea McNeely in. Michael Odell in. Landon Loy stays out. Christopher Rowe stays out. These Landon Loy and Christopher Rowe will be the last two to pit in the entire field. Neither of these cars are on the jacks yet. The Porsche Cup mirroring the smaller pit crews that the series would have. The tire changes don't come until after the fueling, which of course adds time to your pit stop, and that's a huge consideration for what that time for the tire change versus the benefit of those tires. So it looks like Shea and Michael Liddell both neither have chose to take tires. Again, if you're not familiar with the actual Porsche Cup, there are multiple classes by driver experience levels, but also different age groups and levels. So when you're seeing a Porsche Cup race, you will be seeing a very diverse field of drivers from 70-year-old advertising men or railroad barons to Malaysian princes to some 17-year-old kid whose dad owns a record label or something along those lines. But certainly an interesting field. Very loud car. But that's a big part of the game for our drivers, especially early in the season, figuring out what's the cost benefit analysis of taking tires, pitting early, pitting late, trying to play a traffic game. If you look at the top right of your screen, the traffic is across the entire track, so that's not really a consideration here, especially in this single manufacturer, single spec. But when you get into the multi-class with multiple different car specs, we've definitely seen that it becomes more of a factor that you can win or lose on your pit cycle based on where you come out. It shows Ron Cabilti's had an incident. He's still running second, but now he's dropped back. Nick Moffitt able to take over the lead. So here comes Nick Moffitt. There's a car between him and Ron. Ron just gets, looks like just gets a little squirrely off the curbing. Sometimes the curbing can be slick, also just disrupt the car. So Ron looks like he put that car into the wall. That'll just be the frunk up there, so it's not going to damage the engine components, but the aero on a track with straights this long certainly will be impacted. So now Ron's going to be hoping that David Wortman doesn't put together a strong end of his race. Looks like more tire smoke there. Somebody's gone sideways here. Michael Harris in the Valvoline, entering the bus stop. I didn't see anything there. So maybe Michael got such a good launch that the system thought that he crashed. I'm not sure. But that was just smooth driving. But here's, oh, unlucky for Steve. Steve gets quite a bit of curb on the entry. Roll through here. Gets out nice and wide. David Stark has a great toe. Enters in. Steve gets a little bit discombobulated going over the curb there. Got a lot of curb. And then it looks like by the time any contact might have come from David, he was already around. On first glance live, it looked like maybe he might have had a little help into the oversteer, but just lost control there. David lucky to get through that pretty clean. Travis Rowe now leading Jack Lucas. This is 7th and 8th. I think Brian Coxon's charge back through the field hit another snag. That's Jack Lucas, not Brian Coxon. So here comes Jack Lucas. Brian Coxon on the inside wall. The bus stop has been eating lunches. They say there's no such thing as too much sausage, but that hasn't appeared to be true. There might have been a little bit of rub there onto David Stark. So here with the nose cam. Brian had a killer run coming out. David just trying to slow down because he was getting offline. And then I think Brian just had too much momentum to adjust to that. That's the sort of thing that can happen to you if you're too fast. It's not really an issue I've ever had. Oh no, unfortunate for Michael Odell after holding down third all race from the first lap onward. Father Tim reports that his VR headset went out on him. That's happened a couple times when he's been having a good race. So unfortunately, Michael Odell is out of the race from a podium position, paying premium points. So that's deeply unfortunate. If you're a headset VR manufacturer, our drivers count on you and your equipment to not fail them. Whoa, David Wortman with a nice save right there. That'll let Steve Hansel through for overall position 15, but David retains third position in class. It looks like Kevin Mayer is running in fourth right now. Kevin has taken his stop already and is running a solid race. Hop on board here and watch the steady hands of Kevin. Down into the compression there where that little off camber helps rotate the car. Power up the hill. Don't hit this wall to your right, as we've seen. Get all the way out wide here on the left. Can take a nice entry there into the bus stop. Pretty well done. Very satisfying if you're in flow state and hitting it in rhythm. And through the carousel and down the hill. So now here comes Jason Wahlberg, taking over third place from Michael Odell, who's retired. Some people say P-Cup is a retirement community, but I don't believe that to be true. Jason having won last week, this would be another good points haul. Looks like Taylor Montague, maybe? Nope, Taylor Montague's already hit the pits. I believe that was Eric in the pink machine. Eric in the Pigmobile, playing in the mud. Landon Loy, meanwhile, has broken off a 2.8 second lead over Shea McNeely. He looks comfortable taking that work car turn for turn. Gets a little sniff of the wall there on the exit. Currently 3 cars in the pits. Can't tell if they're all taking repairs. Race director Josh Watt forgetting he's not the safety car today. Jesse Coffey, meanwhile, is trying to bring the racing back to this race. Most of the field is spread out now to have at least a second or two between positions. Hop on the hood here with Jesse Coffey as he goes through the bus stop. Jesse now has about a 1 second gap to Jason Geyer. See the track starting to rubber in on the racing line. I'm not certain there will be any rain this season. A few weather forecasts look like it's possible, but in low percentages. That said, if rain came at a stage like this, with the track rubbered in like that, it might make things difficult for drivers to try to maintain on the slicks without changing. So you have to be seen if we will get a rain race. We've certainly enjoyed the rain races in the past. Lots of good battles. Strategy really has played a big factor in the rain race. There's Eric in overall 13th. No, 13th in class. I'm sorry, not overall. Eric sticking to the outside or inside. Jason trying to make his way around the outside. Now David Wortman sets his sights on Steve Hansel. He says, look, going through the bus stop. Oh no, see full lock there. That's not what you want to see. While on board, like there might have been other drivers. We'll have to see what happens here. I see trouble for Kyle Ryan, Kevin Mayer, and David Wortman. So here's David. Had a couple, about a second plus to Steve. Enters into the bus stop. Just got in deep in the carousel. Wasn't able to get stopped. Oh, that's unfortunate. Not sure if that gave him enough damage. Oh no, and then another incident here. Tires probably just overheated on the rear. Maybe an issue with the suspension or controls. Toe link, something like that. So just gonna jump to the pits there. That's unfortunate. Because David was on a tear trying to make his way back up after that incident with Rick Bundren going into the bus stop. Nick Moffitt still working on Jason Geyer, but now here is Nick Aslin chasing Rick Bundren. Tries to get on the inside, just not enough room there, especially with how the car is going to push. It's going to compromise both cars and their pace going down this straight, but nobody close as far as a risk for them to lose positions in class. Nick having to check up just a little bit. He's trying to push up inside. Right through. Nick going to run right through Rick Bundren. Rick concedes the position. So here we see coming through the carousel. Nick had the feel for it as soon as he saw Rick go to the outside. He knew he was going to take that fight up the inside. Rick choosing to survive. Can see the position, but nice decisive move from Nick Aslin there. A little bit of a short track move. Nick, familiar with the oval side, just taking that inside route, making the late dive for the slide job. So now, looks like Nick Moffitt has lost touch with Jason Geyer. About 5 seconds back now, but Jason Geyer has decided that he wants a piece of coffee. So he will now try to chase down Jesse Coffey with fewer than 10 minutes remaining in this race. Kyle Ryan is behind Chris Goldsmith, who is 6th in the Pro Division. Sorry, it was making me feel crazy there that we're looking at 7th, and 6th, and the 6th in front of Kyle is in a different class, but I promise I'll make it through. This would not be, if Kyle got around Chris, this would not be for overall position. Kyle is currently 20th overall. Jesse Coffey trying to make that Coffey bold. A nice wide note. Jason just looking for a place to try to force his car in. Like a little snap there from Jason, getting back on power. This is the closest battle on track. If you're enjoying what you see, or you think you'd like to get some racing in, go to midwest-motorsports.com and sign up. Follow the instructions. Fill out the forms. Join the Discord. Hop in a practice session and get in a race. This is now somehow season 11 of the Road Series. We also have the 2 Oval Series. If either of those are interesting to you, got Friday nights and Sunday nights. I've run both and had a great time everywhere I've been. Jesse Coffey is looking at the clock wind down, hoping it will move quicker. Laps are currently taking just under, looks like the last lap for Landon Lloyd was a 1:47.06, so that is pretty quick. Christopher Rowe, Francis Faustino, a 1:46.91, so that's almost Francis's fastest lap. So still fast laps coming through, but about 1:47, 1:48, so at least a couple laps left here on this session. Right up against the wall there. Coming through the final turn. It really feels like a yo-yo when you're chasing another car here. Almost trading mistakes. Bringing yourself closer and further together from your competition. Jesse's slowing a lot more going into the bus stop than Jason. Sometimes you can get a little bit of braking done after you hit the entry curb and then the inside curb, but as we saw with Kyle, if all 4 of your tires leave the ground and none of the rubber is making contact with the surface, you are not going to be able to turn, accelerate, or slow the vehicle, so a little risk involved. But we've got some late races picking back up. Now Chris Goldsmith has Jack Lucas as a follow. Jack had a strong run last week. Oh no, I'm seeing Jason Geyer's name in red. And he is now following Nick Moffitt. Try to catch this incident here. So Jason just overcooks. Has to pull over and wait. By goes Steve Hansel and by goes Nick Moffitt. And that is the last place that you want to be. Maybe not the last place, but that's not a place you want to be sideways. You lose a lot of run there. So that's unfortunate. Loses him positions with only a matter of minutes to go. Landon Loy currently running on, coming around to complete lap 31, or lap 32 now on lap 33. He should have time left on the clock when he takes this next start-finish. So there might be 2 more laps left in this race. And depending on your position in the field, that is good news or bad news. For Jason Wahlberg, a couple more laps might seem like a long time to keep Christopher Rowe behind him. Same story for Chris Goldsmith with Jack Lucas on his tail. Nick Moffitt continues his chase. It looks like Jason Geyer got back around Nick Moffitt. The more things change, the more they stay the same, but Nick is still leading the AM division. I believe this would be Nick's first win in Midwest Motorsports. I'm sure he wants to get around Jason Geyer, but Ron Cabiltes is only 4.5 seconds back. Nick Aslin now trying to find a way around Steve Hansel. Coming through the S's. Battles are picking up. The incidents are stacking. I haven't seen a drive-through come up yet, but I'm almost certain that they've happened. Both drivers being careful here to not suffer the same fate as other drivers. Going too wide, then down the hill. Nick wants to get around. Admin Steve has made that car wide. Nick's going to try to power up the inside. He might be able to do it. Steve concedes. That moves Nick up to 14th overall. He remains third in class. Your top three in the M division: Nick Moffitt, Ron Kbiltes, Nick Aslan, Rick Bundren, and Justin Shoup, fourth and fifth. Landon Loy now. This should be it. This should be the end of the race when Landon Loy comes through. He's built an 8.5 second gap to Shea McNeely, who has 24, almost 25 seconds on Jason Wahlberg. Jason is still trying to hold off Christopher Rowe. He's still ahead through the boot. Here he comes, holds on to third, coming through the line. First place, Landon Loy. Shea McNeely second, Jason Wahlberg third, Christopher Rowe fourth, Francis Faustino fifth. This is the battle between CJ Barzak and Jack Lucas. Jesse Coffey behind. Jack able to hold on. And where is Nick Moffitt? Nick Moffitt is now taking the line for his first, I believe, ever win in Midwest Motorsports. So I'm going to make sure Nick gets in the voice chat. Ron Kbiltes takes second. Somebody is taking one last spin for the road. Maybe David Wortman. Oh, that was the drive-through penalty for David Wortman, that last loss of control. That's always a frustrating way to finish, but here comes Ron Kbiltes to take his second, and Nick Aslan with a strong third. David's waving to his pals. Rick Bundren his car is not in proper operating condition, but he'll make it across the line for fourth position. So good for him. And Justin Shoup fifth. I'll run down your results while I try to find our winners to interview. Track really caught some people out. Had some cars sideways, backwards, in the walls, off the walls, in the air. So we look at your race results. In the pro class, Landon Loy, he started in third on the second row. On the very first lap, Brian Coxon went off the inside wall on the S's and ended up backwards. That allowed Shea McNeely through. Shea McNeely was followed by Landon Loy for a very long time until Landon was able to make his way around. Landon Loy finishes first, Shea McNeely second. After winning last week, Jason Wahlberg finishes third. It's an entire podium season on the way for Jason Wahlberg. Christopher Rowe fourth, Francis Faustino with a strong fifth after a temporary win last week. Chris Goldsmith sixth, CJ Barzak seventh, Jesse Coffey eighth, Jack Lucas ninth, and Jason Geyer 10th. David Stark 11, Steve Hansel 12, Chet Miller 13, Brian Coxon 14, Travis Rowe 15, Michael Odell 16 with an equipment failure on his technical side. Unfortunate that ended his night. Ian Bakaitis 17th and Justin Flagg 18th. Justin tells me that he is just getting used to the car. So I expect him to be fast when he comes to grips. And in the AM division, we have Nick Moffitt. Great race for Nick Moffitt. Ron did end up in some trouble. Ron was leading, but Nick with the win, I believe, is first. I'll confirm with him in a minute as I drag him up here to the commentary booth. Ron Cabilti second, Nick Aslan third. Nick was trying to make his way around the pro class at the end. Rick Bundren in fourth. Nice result for Rick. Justin Shoup fifth. Kevin Hurlbut sixth. Chris Hopper seventh. Kyle Ryan eighth. David Wortman ninth. Kevin Mayer 10th. Michael Harris 11. Eric Hagel 12. Troy Nissen 13. Josh Watt, race director, in 14th. Taylor Montague 15. And I do not believe Gerard took the start. I'll grab Nick first here. Nick, you got me?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, Nick. Good to see you in here. That, I believe, is your very first win in the series.
First one that I knew I was the winner. Last week, I think I kind of just won by in the last man standing there.
How are you feeling? You seem to be enjoying the car. You were fast in the GT4 equipment. You were fast last season. Is this car suiting you well, or how are you feeling about the season and your performance?
Yeah, so far it's been great. I love that you can just like throw this car around. You really can just preload and like throw it into corners, and I feel like that just suits my driving style really well. And I don't know, it's been fun having mixed competition with the Pro and the AM, so I can get a little better that way.
Yeah, have you found that having those battles with the pro drivers with maybe a little more experience or just differences in racecraft has helped kind of give you a sense of how to approach this car, or just in your overall racing craft?
For sure. Like tonight, I was able to just like kind of sit behind Coffee and Geyer and just sort of see how they were running laps, see their braking points and things like that. And I feel like I really just got faster from that.
Yeah, that's great to see. So how are you looking forward to the rest of the season? The tracks this season are pretty familiar with them, I would assume, especially from last season's. But it seems like a pretty favorable outlook for you.
Yeah, I'm excited. All the tracks that we run are really fun, good racing, so I'm looking forward to it.
Was the track slick at all? We saw a lot of cars spun in backward.
Yeah, I think the track this week was just really hot compared to last week, and it kind of threw people off with how much grip they had and just sent a lot of people spinning.
Yeah, it looked like about 94 degrees, but either way, Nick Moffitt is now a back-to-back winner. That's the first one where you've crossed the line on the stream as the winner, inheriting last week's win rightfully, and we'll see big things more to come from you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
All right, we'll grab Landon here. Landon, you got me?
Yeah, I do.
Landon, welcome to the league, first of all, but also welcome to Victory Lane.
Thank you. I did not.
what a debut! Another member of WART comes along and is fast. That's not something we typically see around here. That's a joke.
Yeah. No, I get it.
So how was your race? It looked like you were on the second row and third to start. Brian caught the inside wall going up through the S's. You had a pretty good amount of time to follow Shea. Did you have a strategy for what you wanted to do, or were you hoping to just follow until you saw an opportunity?
My goal at the start, when I found out there was gonna be like not enough fuel for a pit stop, was just to fuel save, like through every corner throughout the race. And getting into P2 off that race start was pretty perfect because I could just stay behind Shea, and it was really easy. And then behind McNeil, yeah, he was just perfect for fuel saving behind, and he was fast as well. So I did have to push, but him being in front just let me fuel save. I think I got a whole lap on anybody else.
Yeah, it looked like the tow that you were taking was serving you pretty well. It sounded like you were being pretty cautious, getting back on power just to get that reserve. I'll ask you the same thing that I asked Nick. It really did seem like the track was about 94, not the most egregious, but it seemed like it was really slick. I know there's a lot of off camber here at this track, but was there something about the track that might catch people out, or you think it's maybe people just getting used to this new car package?
Definitely the car is not easy out of corners, but the track was super, super light. Like, I made my goal, like, with fuel saving to keep my tires fully alive, and
Hmm.
I didn't slide once during the race, but I also could not get on the power remotely as comfortably as it looked like Shea was doing, especially while behind him in the dirty air. But yeah, the track, it's not easy. Not a fun time.
Yeah, certainly is a track that can get you out of rhythm very quickly. Well, we're glad to have you here. So you've been, it looks like you've been racing with the Wart crew. Were you with the team for the Daytona 24 race?
Technically I'm not in their crew. I run to Jesse a lot in officials and I tune into their stream quite a bit. So I saw him in here and decided one day I'm gonna join that league that he keeps throwing in. And
Awesome. Well,
that's how I got here.
that's how the Warts spread. Jesse is quite a recruiter there. Well, that's great to see. So next week is Montreal. How familiar are you with Montreal?
I have quite a bit of experience, but I don't think I've ever driven the track in the dry. I've only had a
Mm,
rainy race there.
you missed a
So
great rain race there a couple seasons ago in the GT4. Pure chaos. Michael Odell running the slick tire for half the race until it worked. Just absolute chaos and fun. I don't think we'll see that this time, but should be a good race. We've seen great battling throughout. This will be a much shorter track than Road America and Watkins Glen, so expect to see some traffic come into play. Well,
yeah,
go ahead.
I do look forward to that because I do love that track, but it will be a learning curve for me, especially in this car.
Yeah, everybody I think is getting used to it. It's still somewhat new, this point 0.2 version, but seems like it's working pretty well. Maybe familiar for people with GT3 experience, but we're glad to have you. Congrats on the win, and we'll see what you're able to do next week.
Thank you, sir. Have a
That
good
is
one.
Landon Loy, your pro race winner. I am Adam Sondag. This is all that I am capable of doing for tonight. We'll close you down. Hope to see our buddy James J back in the booth soon. The rest of the drivers, while you're chatting and telling everybody that you're not able to make the race, let me know if you want to join in and do some commentary. Doing an hour of solo commentary is tiring. But anyway, join the league, midwest-motorsports.com. Have fun, stay safe, stay out of the barriers.